Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Finish Podcast. This is Wrestling Edition number 2, and I have the one, the only, Timmy Danger on the line. Timmy, what's going on, man?
What's up, dude? How you doing, man?
Hey, man. So, like I was kind of saying before, it's kind of a long time coming, man. You know, like I said, I've been trying to set up this whole wrestling thing, and we did one already, and you know, you were one of the first people I thought of that I wanted to get on here.
No.
Well, you know, man, I tell you, you know, we kind of go back, but you know, I know you're busy and I'm busy, and it's just kind of hard to get our schedules, you know, together to where we're kind of able to do this. But here we are. We're here now. It's a beautiful day. Tell me what you've been doing. Well, I tell you what. Before you do that, why don't we do this? Just tell the people, you know, who you are, how you got involved with pro wrestling. Just give us like a quick, you know, rundown. Yeah, well, I mean, how'd you get involved, man?
Okay.
You know, tell us about
yourself.
How
I got involved? Okay, yeah. The way I got involved was back, I mean, like, I grew up, like, I think everyone has kind of a similar story for the most part, is like, they grew up just in love with the stuff, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they watched every Monday night or whatever the hell it was, and they just grew up, wanted to be around. I mean, still around there are some people who, you know, they're a football player and they stumbled into it. There's those cases. But I feel like most people, like about 90% of people in wrestling, just grew up loving the shit. Because I can curse on this, right?
Yeah, you're good, man. You're good.
Oh, fuck yeah.
We have an explicit rating on iTunes, so we're good. We're good.
Well, I feel like most people just grew up, like, obsessed with it and just, you know, they just want to get involved and do something with it. And you know, I mean, I'm really no different than anybody else in that regard. Just because in order to really do this, pro wrestling is one of those things you have to love to do.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it just is like
for sure.
You can't kind of go to a wrestling school and, you know, get beat up and be like, I think wrestling's okay.
Yeah,
you know
for sure. For sure.
You know, it's like, you know, long story short, I wanted to get involved my entire life pretty much, but, you know, you and I are from the same era, so it was one of those things where it was like, back in those days, there was a lot more kayfabe, if you will, where there wasn't a wrestling school, there wasn't a Facebook, I mean, there was an internet, but the internet wasn't what it is now. Yeah. You know, it was more so, you know, just fair. You know, you still had LimeWire and AIM, so it was a little different. But I got involved. I met a gentleman online on like a chat room or like a message board. I don't know how actually I met this guy, but he was a local wrestler and promoter, and we became friends. And he was running a local wrestling troupe, and I soon, you know, became friends with his friends, and we're all a bunch of friends. And I was doing sound and, you know, helping out with the ring and just wanted to get involved, but, you know, they wouldn't let me get involved until finally one day they broke down and let me start training, which then led me to, you know, having some differences with in that group, and I wound up at a training school in Virginia where I met you, and the rest has been downhill ever since.
Oh man, man. So
no, that.
Well, no. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Keep going.
But that's the origin story, the secret origin of Timmy Danger there.
Well, I mean, tell us, you know, like you said, so you started off doing the managing thing, and you did that for a while, and, you know, obviously, you know, I don't have to inflate your ego that much, but, you know, you were really good at it, you know.
Thank you.
You did an awesome job, man, and, you know, I think my two top favorite managers, at least, you know, in the area, were you and of course Neil. You know, my two favorites. Yeah. And you know, now who you are. When I was telling Ron this, I think the combo of you and Neil is, I think it's such a it's just a 1-2, man. So it's so awesome. But you know, tell us, you know, you did the local thing. You did you traveled up and down the roads with us on the East Coast, and kind of did your thing. Then you kind of went off. You kind of separated from the pack, moved to Kentucky. Tell us about all that.
Well, thank you for the compliment on me and Neil, man. I think the reason me and Neil work well together is because me and Neil have been really tight for a long time, and I kind of feel like if it's two people who kind of want to be together, it makes a big difference in two guys who are kind of just put together.
It makes it easier.
You know,
yeah, absolutely.
You know, don't get me wrong. There have been situations where two guys have kind of stumbled upon each other and formed a good tag team or manager relationship. But I think if it's two guys who want to have a feud, or just say, let's say, hey, I really want to work with this guy, then it works well as opposed to, hey, wrestler A, wrestler B, you guys are working together. And for like 10 we work together, it makes a lot of difference. Not saying it doesn't work the other way, but I'm saying it just, I think the fans can tell too also.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But as far as Kentucky goes, man, I had been on the circuit out here, and me and Eddie Diamond were kind of doing our thing, and it was just, I was real good. I've always been real good friends with Chris Sharp, unfortunately. And he moved out to Kentucky prior to I did, and he kept telling me and Eddie, like, look, man, you guys need to be out here, man. You're wrestling once a month in Hopewell, which is nothing wrong with Hopewell, but you're wrestling once a month. You're wrestling on smaller shows, and you need to step it up. And so
it was him and Susio and there was a few people out
Paradise.
there. Right? Yeah.
Kamikaze Kid.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
And so it's cool. And so they basically were telling us, like, you need to be here. Like, you guys need to do. And so him and I, and really looking back, it was a very, very bold move to just pack up everything and move out there. But we thought it was logical at the time and thought it was the right thing to do and the next best thing. And what we did. So one day, I mean, it wasn't as easy as, you're right, Chris, let's go. We packed up a U-Haul and moved. It was the course of several months. Right. I will tell you, though, it's a funny story. I don't give a shit, so I'll tell it. The moment we knew we were going to move, because we were on the fence about it, was Eddie won the GXW heavyweight title in Prince George. And after the match, the announcement was, your winner and new heavyweight champion, Eddie Diamond. Has anyone seen the belt? We are missing the title belt.
Oh, that's funny. I've never
so
heard
I was like, yeah. So I was like, it's time to go. It's time to, let's get out of here. So, But no, I'm not trying to bury GXW. They were very good to me. And we had a good time there.
Right.
It was just time to take the game next level, man. Like, it was time to work with guys who are on a higher level and train under a guy like Rip Rogers and Al Snow, who are guys who are masters of the craft, and time to do the thing, man.
So what was your biggest takeaway? Because how long were you out there, man?
Well, I was in OVW from May 2012 to, I want to say, maybe I left there around early 2014, I want to say, maybe January, February.
Okay.
Then I kind of took a break, if you will, like a lot of guys do, but I wound up back there I went back as a commentator for a couple of months, and then that ended horribly. But not because of talent-wise, just because backstage stuff, of course. Then I was kind of just doing the indies for a while, but I was in OVW for 2 years. But I was in Kentucky and working the Kentucky, Indiana scene.
Now,
up until
were you still wrestling? Or had you started actually being an active wrestler at this point, or were you still doing the managing thing?
What happened was this. Well, here's what happened, man. I never really had a whole lot of confidence in my wrestling for whatever reason. I mean, I guess, I don't know, that's on me, It's just a lot of learning and growing as a person, but sure. I wanted to wrestle, but I don't know what it was, man. I had a mind fuck. It just fucked with me. And I got to OVW and I started training under Rip Rogers. And I always put Rip over as a trainer because I think he's a great trainer, but one of the things Rip really taught me was how to be me. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I think I learned how to be the best Timmy Danger and not try to be like Eddie Diamond or Shane Strickland or Pharaoh or Lazarus. I learned how to be Timmy Danger in the ring.
You don't want to be Lazarus. That's a
I had to put you over. But you know what I'm saying?
I appreciate
he taught me how to be me.
I appreciate it.
No problem. But he taught me how to be me and what I can do well. It's kind of like, you got a guy like Shane Strickland, for example, who was in GXW when I was there, and he's one of the best high flyers in the world, in my opinion. Well, fuck, I can't do that, but here's what I can do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys need to learn that. I think, comedians call that finding your voice, and he taught me how to find my voice in the ring. What happened was the bad stuff, the good and the bad of that is you said you thought I was a good manager. Well, I had a really good run as a manager on TV, and I wanted to switch over to be a wrestler because really I went as far as I could go as a manager. There's only so far you can go, and I did that. And I wanted to switch over and be a wrestler, and it was really a hard transformation at first because the people kind of see you as one thing. And it was years before people knew, like, oh, wait, you can actually wrestle? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it was a very big hill to climb, but I was able to do it. But that was just persistence. You know, once people saw that I could wrestle. But at OVW, man, like, I wanted to, but to start actually wrestling there, but it was just a mess. But, now, you know, I went off and I did the right thing, man. I wanted to do it, so I left and I went and worked smaller shows in Indiana, Kentucky, and showed I could do it.
So you know, okay. So let's just go back to all right. So you're in OVW, you're doing the managing thing, you're doing the commentating thing, you get brainstorm, man. Let me try this wrestling thing, and you kind of brought up something important, and I think it's something that a lot of maybe a lot of indie guys aren't quite getting. And not to name drop, but it's who I had the conversation with. I was having a conversation with, well, not one-on-one. It was kind of a group setting, but Ronnie Garvin was talking to a few of us, and
okay,
I remember something I took away from it. He said, whatever it is you do in the ring. Now we're talking about whether, not just from a character perspective, but say, doing certain moves. Whatever you do, make sure you do it well. Even if there are only a few things, only do what you do well. And as in, don't try to be something you're not. If you can't do a damn crossbody off the top rope and it doesn't look good, don't do it. If you can't do a planche over the top rope and it looks like shit, don't do it. If you can't do whatever it is, don't do it if you can't do it. And, and always less is more, and, do what you can do it well. Anyway, like, something I really took that away, and I actually started doing a lot less at that point. Not because I couldn't do it, but because not everything I did looked good, and not everything everybody does looks good. They might like to do it, and they might everybody's trying to fit in a gazillion spots, but sometimes it's just not necessary. And if everybody's honest with themselves, I mean, how many good spots does somebody really have? Maybe 3, 4, 5. I don't know. Like,
I got you.
You know what I mean? Like, how many good spots does somebody really have? But
yeah,
no, it's really important, and a lot of local guys, like I said, especially on that indie level. I think that's definitely a threshold that you have to cross at some point in order to, just from a mentality standpoint, to kind of cross that threshold to kind of get to the next level, to where you start feeling more comfortable with your work and what you're doing.
Exactly. And that really just comes from having a lot of matches. Because
yes,
I mean, I was fortunate in that I lived in an area in Louisville, Kentucky, where I could cross the river to Indiana. And I don't know if you've ever been to Indiana, but in Indiana you can sneeze and see like 10 indie feds. Like, for example, there's a building called the Arena in Jeffersonville, Indiana. Well, when I was there, like 6 feds ran out of there. Like, where else do you see something like that? Like, most places you go, if a promoter has a building, they're like, it's my building, so stay away.
Right.
Yeah. So I was fortunate that I could wrestle every night. And the good and the bad to that was, the good was I could wrestle anytime I wanted in front of people and figure myself out more.
Yeah.
But the bad is, you wrestle on a show like that, sometimes the guys, I'm not naming names, sometimes the guys don't have like a lot of training, or it's their first match, or something along those lines. And what kind of helped me out a lot, though, was kind of stepping up and being the ring general and kind of guiding guys like that around. But but that's what I was fortunate with me, was the only way to really find your voice, whatever, like you're talking about, is just do it a lot. You'll find it.
Yeah, 100%. And when did you decide, I guess when did you decide that coming back was, well, I guess first of all, are you here permanently now, like back in the
Oh
Richmond
yeah, I
area?
live here now.
Okay.
I am out of Richmond. I've lived here for over a year now, so I mean I'm pretty good to go. I don't have any plans to to move anytime soon. But yeah, I'm sticking around for a while.
So I guess what kind of made you come back?
There was a lot of personal stuff that I was going through at the time.
Sure.
Like, and I don't want to get into on a podcast.
Sure.
I had some stuff going on, and I mean, like, I felt like, in a lot of ways, one of the things I've taken from our buddy, the Pharaoh, was he once told me, you always want to leave the party when there's still girls there. And maybe if I had stuck around Kentucky for another 6 months, it wouldn't have killed me. But I definitely didn't want to, spend the rest of my days in Kentucky. Nothing wrong with that, but it was time for me to go. So I packed up and left.
Where do you see yourself going with with this wrestling business in general? The next, what's your 2-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? Well, where do you see yourself going with it?
Well, right now, man, I ran my first show last week here in Richmond, or about a week and a half ago here in Richmond, up at the Hofheimer building.
Yeah, talk about that, man, because that was you guys promoted the hell out of that, and I didn't get a chance to check it out, but I heard nothing but good things, and I heard it was an awesome response, and talk about that a little bit.
Okay, yeah. Basically, what went down was I moved back to Virginia, and really no one was running in Richmond. Of course, GXW folded the week I moved back, right? But I was kind of just working the circuit around here, working a lot of feds all over the East Coast, and Richmond needed something.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I've learned about this whole game, man, is like pro wrestling is a very niche market in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure.
And we've all been on the shows in the middle of nowhere, wherever town, and there's 15 matches, and it's just. And I didn't want to do. I knew Richmond needed something, but I didn't want to do something like that. I wanted to give something very authentic, very Richmond, very like this town. It's kind of a hipster town. There's a lot of breweries, a lot of drinking beer and stuff like that. And I wanted to do something that was very authentic to Richmond.
Sure.
So me and my buddy, the progressive liberal Dan Richards, we're doing a lot of road trips together, and we kind of just started spitballing the car if we were to do something, how it would happen. So we came up with the idea, basically just kind of very DIY, very punk rock kind of idea of in a bar, 5 matches, boom, 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 boom. You know what I'm saying? Just not a whole lot of downtime. I saw it as a party with a wrestling ring. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And, basically I kind of stripped some branches, used some connections, and we got a venue. Then, things kind of came from there. Basically, we had the show. I mean, it sold out the day of. And, like I said, we promoted the hell out of it. And, it was a lot of stress and a lot of hard work, but I feel like it paid off well.
Yeah.
I did not expect to sell out that morning. I'll be honest with you. I really didn't. I thought we would maybe, with walk-ups, but It's not often a show like that, especially a first show, sells out, which I'm really proud of and I'm really humbled by.
Oh, yeah.
I wrestled Chris Silvio in a Richmond street fight that went extremely well, and I'm very proud of that match. And people are talking about it and they're excited about it. And, it looks like right now, man, we're planning on doing another. We just got to get some things figured out, but I do plan on doing another show in the future. Hopefully soon.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I see myself going right now, man. Is I want to just, maybe I won't headline WrestleMania, which whatever. You know what I'm saying? But right now, if I can do something good for the town and have fun, cool shows and bars, that people enjoy, then hey, that's what I plan on doing for right now. I'll wrestle wherever I can, whoever let me be there, and do my thing here too.
What's more satisfying to you? Because putting together something like that, and I imagine that's kind of for months, I'm sure that was kind of your baby. Putting the show together and planning it, putting the matches together, getting the venue together, and all those different hats that kind of encompass wrestler, matchmaker, promoter, so on and so forth. You think that was that more gratifying to you than, say, just having a good match? Was it different?
It works two ways. Like, okay, like there's two different ways that goes. Like, for me, like having a good match is great,
Yeah.
And that's very satisfying, going out there with a guy and just tearing the roof off the place.
Yeah.
Great feeling, but
Yeah.
it's not. I'll tell you what, man. I'll give you a roundabout answer to that. Is, man, it's like that's way less stressful than putting a show together.
I'm sure.
Putting a match together. Yeah.
I'm sure.
Because. But honestly, man, I think they're both very satisfying in different ways. Like having a match, it's all you got to worry about is you. So if I'm working the Sean Cal the Lazarus Wrestling Federation, and I'm wrestling Chris Silvio on that, we have a great match. That's extremely satisfying. But that's the only thing I have to worry about that day.
Sure. Sure.
So if I'm doing a show, if I'm running this show and I'm wrestling somebody, I got to worry about everything else, and.
Right.
Nothing really set in, or I couldn't really enjoy it really until after my match. I could sit back and watch the rest of the show.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're both satisfying in different ways. I don't know which is, I'd say running a good show and having a good match is, hitting a grand slam. So that's more satisfying in a lot of ways,
Yeah. So you think that you're pretty sure you guys are going to run again, you said, in the near future?
Yeah, I think so.
What was
it looks like it's going that way.
I guess another question, too, I had. So what was it specifically about that building? Was that a location that you guys looked at specifically, or was it kind of something that just kind of came available and it was,
I've talked about this before on other shows. I don't mind talking about it again because I'm pretty open about it. I originally had another venue, and I'm not going to, name names or nothing. But I had another venue, and everything looked pretty. It just seemed too easy. It's like that old saying: if something's too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
Was how it was. Like, I kind of worked my contacts, and I got in touch with this guy who ran the building, and I went up there, and I was like, "Hey, I want to have a show," and he was like, "Okay, cool. What day?" You know what I'm saying? It was like, this is too easy.
What do they do out of that building? Because I kind of know where it's at, but do they usually do anything? Any shows or anything?
Well, I'll get to that in a second. But
okay,
the building I had at first, like everything was it just seemed too easy, and it just seemed something was off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And one day I woke up and received an email saying, "Oh, it looks like we can't do the show," and I was like, "Oh, well, great." And it was, luckily we recovered extremely quickly. It only took a couple of days to find a new venue.
Right.
But it was a whirlwind of a few days, I'll tell you that. But I knew in a weird way, in a strange way, that them not wanting to do the show was kind of a good thing,
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, I used this analogy before, it's kind of like, let's say you got a girlfriend and she dumps you and you're bummed out about it, but 6 months later you find a better girl,
That's that would be a blessing in disguise, Timmy.
Yes, it would be. But I knew it was something like that. I just knew it somehow. But we found this building, and it's a bar. It's like they have a downstairs traditional bar. Then the second floor where the show was is like an event hall, and a lounge is behind there, and on top of that's a rooftop bar.
Oh wow!
So it's kind of a big, crazy building there.
Right. Wow. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was saying that thing, yeah.
Okay. So, all right. So we got all that stuff going on. Tell me about what's this whole? I keep seeing the sanctuary thing, and you kind of got this group going on. Like I've seen you go up to what's that? Capital Wrestling. You got a little group up there, right? You got a little stable up that way. Talk about that.
Oh, the sanctuary. I had moved back from Kentucky, and I was doing a gimmick where I had a can of hairspray, and I was spraying my hair a lot.
Yeah,
right.
I remember seeing the pictures.
Yeah, which I thought was fun to do, and it worked well, and I liked doing it.
Yeah.
But I kind of wanted to. That can, like I said, kind of like what's on managing. That can only take you but so far, you know. And I knew it could work on like, you know, a smaller level show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But I wanted to progress into like a bigger player, I guess you could say. I needed to up my game, you know, and go. So up at Capital Wrestling, Marcus Dowling and I kind of talked about it, and we kind of talked about me being a kind of like a guru, kind of cult leader-esque guy, if you will. And I kind of, you know, started thinking about the gimmick and kind of fleshing it out, and the Sanctuary kind of came through that. A lot of the inspiration for it was guys like Jim Jones and David Koresh and guys of that nature, where kind of, you know, it's just, you know, it is what it is, you know. Just, for example, I was really inspired by a lot of evangelists, you know?
Yeah.
And I watched a documentary called Marjo about a while back, and it's about a guy. He was a preacher, but he was just in it for the money. He was just a scam artist.
Yeah.
And he was showing he was kind of exposing himself as how he would work people out of money.
Right.
And, like, for example, there was one scene where he's in a church and he's preaching, and he pulls out some bandanas, and he's like, now these right here are prayer cloths. And what you do, you come up here, you buy prayer cloth for only $5, and you hold on to this, and you pray to this cloth. And if you want that promotion, you pray to this cloth every night, and you will get that promotion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and it's like the whole concept is fucking absurd. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it was something, you know, and it was I kind of got inspired through things like that, and guys, you know, clearly, you know, kind of a heel gimmick that wasn't so much the traditional, like, coming out, like, getting booed and being like, screw you fans, I'm the best wrestler in the world. It's more like, it's okay, I understand your loss. We can help you. I'm here for you. You know what I'm saying? So it's gotten a good response, man. I'm really happy with it so far. It's helped me out a lot. I mean, it's a good gimmick, and it's getting me where I want to go, I suppose. So,
where do you think, like you said, we kind of came from, you know, kind of the same era, and I was talking to Pharaoh about this, and it's interesting. And you talk about how, you know, back then, and we're talking, well, I started 2002. I started the fall of 2002 was when I started training. Anyway, you know, back then, there wasn't really a social media. So we had MySpace, but
yeah,
it wasn't. It was nothing like, you know, how things are now. Like, it just wasn't. Social media wasn't very mobile back then. You still had to be at your house, and you still had to be connected to a computer to really mess with it. So it wasn't like you could take a picture and share, like, hey, I'm at so and so, or I'm with so and so, or whatever. It wasn't quite like that. So, and as far as using it for promotion, people had just kind of started using MySpace as a promotional tool, and even then, it wasn't. Like I said, it really wasn't, you know, the best. It was just kind of still on the cusp of it. And how do you see independent wrestling? Not so much, you know, WWE and stuff like that, but independent wrestling as a whole, and how it's evolved just since, let's say, the past. You might as well say the past 20 years.
Okay.
How much it's evolved because of social media. You now have some of these smaller feds, and you have some of the ones, say, like your Ring of Honors and your, you know, Shakars and your stuff like that. You have a lot of those now where I don't want to use the word. I think I brought this up with Pharaoh too. I don't want to use the word competing with WWE, but
no,
they have a lot bigger following, and they're able to God, like I said, I don't like the word compete, but they're able to kind of go against them you know, a lot of times. And how do you feel that indie wrestling has evolved just in the past 20 years?
I think it's great now. I think wrestling's so much better now than it was 10 years ago when you and I were running the streets, man. Honestly, I think it's great. And for a million reasons, man. Like, I feel like wrestling now in 2018 is, a lot more fun than it was 10 years ago. And what I mean by that is even taking the show at the Hop last week, I think that was a fun environment and a fun time. And it wasn't something that, it wasn't, just two guys beating the living shit out of each other. Because when I came up with you, and I'm not trying to age myself, but it wasn't as fun back then, man. It was real serious, and a lot of guys were real, like, it wasn't as fun. I think now it's a lot better, in also not only being a lot more fun, but also I feel like social media has done so much great things for it. Because I can tell you, I've only been around since like 2005, which is a long time, but really in the grand scheme of things, I guess isn't. But I remember vividly burning DVDs of myself, on my lunch break for my job, mailing out to promoters, snail mail, and not hearing anything back. But one guy in bumfuck North Carolina says, "Yeah, anytime, man, come on down." Now you don't have to do that. Now you can just send a link from your phone, sitting on the toilet and say, "Hey, I'd love to work for you. Here's my stuff," which is great. Now you can just go ahead and and even back then, I remember in the MySpace days, like you couldn't really share matches like you can now.
Right.
Like same thing. Like now, you could probably go on someone's Twitter, maybe not see their whole match on a YouTube link, or maybe see a 10-second GIF, and people get over that way.
Do you think?
I think it's great. I think the future looks great, man.
Do you
and
think,
even more so on a bigger scale, like Cody Rhodes and them just sold 10,000 tickets to an independent wrestling show.
Yeah,
that would have never happened 10 years ago.
No, you're absolutely right. That's a good point. Do you think that it's more kind of the culture we live in? I guess what I mean by that is, do you think it's the fans that it's a lot funner to kind of work for? Or do you think it's more the boys in the back? Do you think it's, like you said, it's not as serious? Because at this point, back then, I thought a lot of people knew wrestling was a work. But really now, it's kind of hard-pressed. You're really hard-pressed to find people who think that wrestling is still real. So I think from a fan perspective, do you feel it's a lot easier to kind of just... You don't have to worry about the kayfabe. You don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff. You just have to go out there and perform. And I think that the fans nowadays, I think they appreciate the athleticism of a match versus versus the, say.
I think we're trying to say. I think my answer to that is the fans now. Like, okay, when I was a kid, back in the day, I really wanted to see Owen Hart get the shit beat out of him. I really thought Owen Hart and Bret Hart, I thought Owen Hart spent his Thanksgiving, at his wife's house, away from his brother,
Yeah.
But nowadays you can't necessarily do something like that. But at the same token, man, I think the fans now more so appreciate the art of wrestling and the athleticism, like you said, and want to get more wrapped up in the fun of it than the complete seriousness of, like look at Joey Ryan's dick spot and how over that got.
Right. Yeah.
I know there's some older guys who hate it, but at the same time, it is what it is.
Yeah, it was super. I remember when he first started doing it was just super over. I remember when he did a spot with they brought up. I forgot where it was. I don't know if it was Ring of Honor or what. They brought in Mick Foley and they did the Sacco versus the the dick spot. That was pretty funny. But
and like fans now, man, like you look at the Bullet Club, for example,
Yeah.
So you got fans at Ring of Honor wearing Cody Rhodes shirts, but at the same time, he's coming to the ring, they're flicking them off.
Right.
It just is what it is.
Do you think that, and this is something that I was even saying this back when I was doing it, a big problem that I had, even back then, I felt like that I was, I'm not, like I said, I am not tooting my own horn by any means, I'm just calling it like I see it. But when I was doing it and I was a heel, I was a firm believer that if I was a heel through the whole night. And I was 100% heel. I wasn't a heel during the match, and then after the match I'm shaking hands, kissing babies, and everything else because I thought it ruined the luster of the heel to really truly hate the heel, because without the heel, I fully believe that the heel is the most important part of the show. It's the most important part of the match. Because no matter how good the face is, and I've talked about this before, the heel is the most important part, because if they don't feel if they don't feel that guttural, just that guttural hatred for that heel, then no matter what, that face is not going to be nowhere near as great. They're not gonna care as much. And I think nowadays, even more than back then, I think a big problem is a lot of these guys, because social media is so big, you'll come out to the ring and do your heel thing, and then 5 minutes later, it's like, hey man, don't forget to tweet me at such and such. Don't forget to email me at such and such gmail.com. I sell shirts, guys. Come and check me out.
Well,
And I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I'm not bashing it. I get it. I get it from, especially from a merchandising point of view. I do get it. But do you think that it's harder to, does it make it a little bit harder to sell, I guess, some of the different characters and some of the different gimmicks who I think are dependent upon, for instance, me personally, my gimmick doesn't work as a face. It will not work. It's garbage. I might as well take the night off because it's not going to work.
Yeah, it does.
Well,
you can do that as a face.
Well,
You totally does.
well,
See, that's the thing, man. Like it's easy to go. You just redirect who you're talking shit on.
Yeah, I guess you're right. But I mean,
all good.
yeah. But what? How do you think that? Do you think any of that affects? You think any of that affects today's wrestling and how hard it is to?
How it affects the product?
Well,
Well,
yeah.
like,
How does it
I will
affect?
say this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I think stuff like Matt Hardy got really over because of what you're saying. Like he stayed broken Matt 24/7.
Right.
But at the same time, not everybody can, I don't think every gimmick should be like that because, I think there's a fine line. You can still be a personal, still be, cool about whatever. But at the same time, I would say this, man. I like that wrestling has evolved, and I like that now people are more respecting the art and athleticism.
Right.
But at the same time, I think there should be a fine line of one of my biggest pet peeves in wrestling is I hate when two guys have a very hard-fought match, and after the match, they call each other by their real names and hug and say how much professional they are in the ring. I hate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless there's like an angle involved, or like, I hope this never happens again, but like if someone gets hurt, in the ring, and the guy he was in the ring with is tweeting like he was totally professional, he took care of it, I think there's a line there. I mean, I get why guys do it. I don't personally like it. I think you can check on the guy on your own time and, whatever, but that's just me. But I think there's a line to it. I don't think, everyone should be in character 24/7, but at the same time, I don't think you should also be like, on May 5th, I'm going to beat the shit out of Sean Calloway, and the next tweet is, check out me and my family at Disney World.
Right. I'll give you another good example while you're on that point is who's that guy and the guy that's in Impact and he hit the guy with the bat and he just ran with this. He's like this 24/7.
Oh yeah, Sammy Callahan.
Yeah. So I think he's a great example of I dig what he's doing. He's
exactly.
just
I like that too.
He's that persona 24/7, and I think it's great because people actually legit hate him. And I think one time you used a phrase with me, and it was I'm not going to name names, but I would kind of try to do like I said. I was a heel the whole show, and a lot of guys. We had certain people who. And you'll know exactly where I'm going with this, but we had certain people who watched the show and gave us reviews and half-ass ratings and meaningless shit. Back then, I probably took it a little too seriously, but really looking back, it was bullshit. Nobody cared. But I would act heel towards them. I saw a lot of guys that would come out after the match, give them hugs, shake hands. Hey man, how's it going? How'd you like my match?
Yeah.
And I just never did that. A, legit, I don't know if I really cared enough to do that. B, I was a heel. I wasn't going to go out there after the show, shake their hand, give them a hug. Hey, man, did you like my match? Was it good? Was that suplex all right? Did you approve?
I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is, man, everyone's entitled to their opinion, man. Look, man, it just is what it is. Some people may think I'm the best wrestler in the world. Some people think I'm the drizzling shit. It's okay. People are entitled to their opinion, and not the, it is what it is. Everyone, I know what you're talking about. Some guys took that shit way too seriously, but it is what it is.
Well, All right, so where I was going. So anyway, I remember we would talk about that, and I think I would even talk about that, during the trips and stuff. And I remember you made a comment, and at first, I don't want to say I wasn't offended, but at first, it kind of took me a second to kind of get it. You're like, yeah, you have that. What did you call it? It's like you had that natural, like, true heat, as in they really don't like you.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's we're kind of talking about it, and I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, what the hell is Timmy trying to say? Is he trying to say like I'm shit and they really don't like me? But it took me a while to kind of figure out what you kind of meant. But yeah, I think that to kind of get to that point, and I think like say Sami Callihan and like Matt Hardy, and they have that to where they have true heat, as in it's not a boo for the sake of, you're the bad guy, he's the good guy. People legit turn on them, and they're true heels, in my opinion. And I think we're missing a lot of that. But I agree with you. Not everybody can do that, and it might get oversaturated if every other heel tried to do that. But no, but the whole Sami Callihan thing, man, I'm digging it. I love it. I love what he's doing. But no, like, I guess to kind of come back to you, I was telling Ron that I'm totally digging. I'm real proud of you, man, and I told him this.
Thanks,
and
man.
I'm proud of. It took me, before I knew it, it was like watching. Even though we're not that far apart in the wrestling years, but it was kind of like watching. I don't know, like maybe like someone that babysitted. I don't mean that. I don't mean that in a negative voice. I hope it's not like that.
I know what you're saying.
But it's like it's like somebody we kind of babysitted, and all of a sudden you grew up and you did the wrestling, and you're doing your own thing, and you're doing a hell of a lot more than a hell of a lot more than I ever did. But it's I really proud of you, man, and
thanks, man.
You come a long way. I was proud of you when you went to OVW, and I wish I could have got my stuff in order, because I know around that time I had talked to Susio, and I had actually mentioned to him, but it was just financially it wasn't possible. And
I get that, man. And I was at a good point in my life when it happened, because I didn't have anything tying me here. I don't have any kids. I didn't have any kids. I don't have I wasn't married.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like anything like that was going on. I could just go. I was
Yeah.
But I appreciate all that, man.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's just like there's a few guys that I still kind of keep in touch with, and how artificial a lot of wrestling relationships are. They're just hey, what's up, dude? Hey, what's up, bro? And then like I said, I'm not gonna name names, but there's a lot of people I thought I was cool with, and I thought we were, be a little bit. I thought we had a relationship kind of beyond wrestling, and of course, that's mostly not the case, but
it's just how it is, man.
But hey, I also want to put you over too. So Timmy Danger came to my wedding, so I just want to let you guys know that. That's how cool I am. That's how cool I am with Timmy Danger.
I did know you.
He came to my wedding.
That was a long day, man. I had a show that I had to wrestle in Prince George that night.
I remember because like Ron couldn't make it because he was dealing with his stuff, and there was a couple other people. I want to say back when like Larry and Amanda and everything, and Amanda came, but Larry couldn't because of the show and everything like that. But anyways, man, I'm glad to hear you're doing great, man, and I'd love to when you guys announce the show, come back on, man. Come back on and announce the show.
Man. I'll come on again.
Like I said, I'd love to get some more of those guys too in here, man. Just kind of talk to them, and I know I definitely want to get more. I'd love to get involved in the local scene. I just don't know what.
Gotcha.
I don't know what, but man,
I don't kid myself, man. Like I tried to not wrestle for a while, but I just know I'll always. If I can't physically wrestle, I'll probably be involved in some capacity from now on. It is what it is to me. I'm not gonna kid myself.
Yeah. I think that's kind of what's I don't want to say what's missing, but I definitely miss being around it. I miss the just more than anything is I guess the camaraderie of it,
Yeah, of course.
I miss seeing the boys and all that, but enough. That's too much mushy shit. But
It's okay.
Anyways, man, like I said, I loved having you on, man. It was a cool
All right, bro.
cool conversation. I'd like to get you on again, and I guess keep on keeping on, man. Do your thing.
All right, brother. I'm getting out of here. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, buddy. Have a good one, man.
You too.
Hey, guys, if you enjoyed the show, please don't forget to check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram. Send me a message. I'm going to screw up your like long walks on the beach. I don't know. You never know. And please, for you audiophiles out there, we're on iTunes. We're on Google Play. Don't forget to like, share, follow, and subscribe to us. Helps us out a ton.